We have the holy Leanne will hand out Alachaim anybody wants. We want to make it tilted. Thank you, Moshe. Good. You tell me. Do you like the frame?
There we go.
Okay, terrific. Tonight's class is sponsored by the Happy Minyan, so we want to give a big round of applause for Happy Minyan for making tonight happen. I'd like to personally dedicate it to release of all the hostages immediately, and the refuah shlema for the cholim, including Naftali Hirschman Rachel and others who need a refuah shlema, and in memory of my mother's cousin who was nifter this morning, Daniel Schumann. His neshama shev and aliyah. Amen. So tonight, Kanai Nahar, we have a big crowd. There's one, if everybody could share handouts. There's one for every two people. Okay? And we'll go around this way. And also, we'll pull this down. Are we recording already, Moshe? Okay, great. All right, good. So, there is a little bit of an overview of tonight's class. So first, it's impossible in one class to go over every single halacha of Chanukah. Just putting it out there. However, we can make great strides in reviewing things that we might know, learning things that we don't know. We're going to go through the who, what, when, where, why, how, where, all these things of the Chanukah lights. We're going to discuss some customs, and we're going to discuss some interesting questions that might arise. And tonight's format, it's important, is I'll be reading the sources. They're all here on the sheet, and it's listed, and I'll say what they are. And after we get through our sources, which is about 45 minutes, there'll be time for any question you have. Okay? If we answer questions along the way, we will not get through all of our material, and we'll have to dance and learn, because there's an event here a little bit later. So that'll be a little awkward. So we'll get through all the material. And of course, by the way, if there's something that we don't cover tonight, and we don't have time to get to it in questions, just make a note of it, send me a WhatsApp. I'll be happy to get back to you on any matter Hanukkah related that we didn't get to tonight. And this is a standalone. So if you weren't here last week we went over the mystical, the Kabbalistic, we went over the miracle, and over all the kind of ruchnius of Hanukkah. Now we're going to get a little bit more into the gashmius of Hanukkah. But even the gashmius of Hanukkah is completely ruchnius. Okay. What, when, where, how? The Shulchan Aruch. We're going to learn a little bit of Shulchan Aruch together. Chapter 139, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch tells you are permitted to work on Hanukkah. Why is that important to know? Because Hanukkah is a Yom Tov. It's kind of a holiday. And one might think, well, I don't work on Sukkot, I don't work on Passover, maybe I don't work on Hanukkah. We work on Hanukkah. But women follow the custom not to do any work during the time the Hanukkah lights are burning, and you should not cause them, i.e. women, to treat this matter lightly. It's really important that women should not work. The reason why is that the cruelty of the evil decree, when the Syrians were occupying Eretz Yisrael, it wasn't like a nice occupation. It was horrific. And it was worse on the women. A woman before her marriage was obliged to go to the tent of the general. Enough said. Another reason is because the miracle of Hanukkah came through a woman. So don't make ladies work. What kind of fuel is okay? Now, now again, we could go into more details, but don't make a woman work. What does that mean? I should explain what that means. No housework. During the half an hour that the candles are lit, everybody should have a chance to benefit from the half an hour. It's not like a work in the sense of Shabbos work. Okay. Now, what kind of fuel? I know I'm supposed to make this light thing, but there's so many options. What do I do? All kinds of oil are valid for the Chanukah lights. Nevertheless, tells the Shulchan Aruch, the mitzvah is best if done with olive oil because it's similar to the miracle in the Beis HaMikdash, which was achieved with olive oil. If you can't get olive oil, which was often the case in Poland, where my ancestors came from, you should select another kind of oil that gives a clear, bright flame, or wax candles. So the custom of using wax candles, which so many people use, is okay. It's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a very, very good light. And if you can't arrange to have a menorah that uses oil, don't worry, as we say in Yiddish, "Deige nicht," shouldn't worry, right? Because a candle's fully, a wax candle is fully legit, okay? What kind of menorah? Now, this gets exciting. First of all, I want to do a little show and tell. This is a replica of like a 400-year-old menorah. I do not think it's 400 years old. I bought it when I was living in Poland. What do you notice about this menorah? Oil, good. What else?
The shamash is lifted up.
Shamash is over here and probably was using a candle, right? What else?
Menorah.
It has the little menorah motif inside, which is very cute, right? You can't make a 7-branched menorah for use, but as a decorative element you could. Yeah, what else?
You could hang it up by that whole.
You could hang it up, which helps explain so much of the halacha. When you go, we're not going to go into it tonight, but if you start going through the halacha, it talks about hanging the menorah on a door. And most people go through that like, why would you hang a menorah on a door? Well, let's remember, overhead lighting is a pretty new thing. Where did people used to light their lamps? Like, go see those old movies, right? And they've got torches or lamps along the wall. Lights used to be lit on the wall to cast light through the whole room. Okay? So this menorah was designed to be hung on the wall, has a little place here, and to be lit on the wall. Very cool. And again, I don't think this is ancient, so it's okay, but I will pass this around if people want to take a look at it. It's made out of cast bronze. The guy who sold it to me claimed it was an antique.
Now it is.
Like you're an antique.
I'm an antique, right? Okay, so, but let's move on. Let's think about this. What kind of menorah? So let's look here in number 5, source 5. This is 139. If you light a menorah made of earthenware, people don't usually use earthenware anymore, but if you did, you have to throw it out because it gets schmutzig, like an unglazed clay menorah would get schmutzig, and it wouldn't be nice. You want to light it the next night. Therefore, you should possess a beautiful menorah made of metal. If you can't afford it, you can buy a silver menorah. If you can afford it, you should buy a silver menorah to adorn the mitzvah. So the number 1 mitzvah is on a silver menorah, even a silver plate menorah. But if you can't do silver, you could do bronze, like this one is bronze. So if we were to polish that up really, really well, it would be beautiful. I kind of leave it like that. I'm not sure why. Now, if you go through the sources, I didn't bring it tonight, but there's like 14 different things you can make it out of, including pomegranate rinds. Okay. It's a widespread custom, number 6, in our region of the most scrupulous observant, where each member of the family kindles 1 light in the first night, 2 in the second, keeps adding till the 8th night. They kindle 8. You should be careful with each person place the menorah in a separate place. You can easily tell how many lights there are. This whole question about about lighting is determining this issue. The Gemara, which we'll see in a moment, only says you have to light one candle. That's it. If you're Mahadrin, you're going to light one every night. If you're Mahadrin and Minahadrin, you're going to light the corresponding number of lights as is the night. That's the way it's universally done now. But then there was still just a bunch of discussion. Does everybody in the house light? Or just one person? And it's a big debate amongst the Rishonim and others. How many people? So there are some customs that follow that only one person lights one menorah per light. And others say, and the more widespread custom is that everybody lights. And each group has what to depend on. There's not a wrong answer there. Now it's important to put the menorah in a place where you don't light your Shabbos candles. I mean, where if you put it there, how do you determine? Maybe it's like a Shabbos candle. So we go out of our way to put it in a unique location, which we'll explain a little bit more in a moment. Okay? So just to remind ourselves, we're going to buy or own what kind of menorah?
Silver.
Silver. Most important though is that it's metal. Exactly. Metal. Metal menorah. You know why? Because when I was in kindergarten, my teacher sent me home with a balsa wood menorah that I made. And I nearly burned down the house. So I take this very seriously ever since my you can ask my mom. Ask Bubby. By the way, she kept it. The burnt menorah, I don't know why, for a long time. I was like, Ma, please, you can throw out the burnt menorah. The other reason why we want to make it out of metal is not just because it's sturdier, but because it can add beauty to the mitzvah. It's all about hidur mitzvah, making the mitzvah beautiful. Should you make it out of gold?
Yes.
No. We don't want to make it out of gold because we don't want to seem like we're trying to imitate the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. There are some people who have golden menorahs. I'm sure they have their own reasoning, but let's give that extra tzedakah to the happy minyan and buy silver. Okay, let's turn the page. Where to light? Now we're going to learn the Gemara together. The mitzvah of the Chanukah lights is to place it on the outside of the entrance of one's home. Has anybody here been in Eretz Yisrael during Chanukah? Yes. Okay, right. In Eretz Yisrael, you people place them outside on the street in front of their houses, right? In little, as my wife calls them, menorah terrariums. And it's gewalt. It's so beautiful, right? That is the way our ancestors did it at the time that this was instituted and for many, many years afterwards. However, there's a problem that Jews didn't always live in such tolerant areas. But let's understand why we would do it there in the first place. Why would you put the menorah in front of your house?
So other people see it.
So other people see it. Exactly. It's not to show off, rather to show about the miracle of Hanukkah. It's all about Pirsumei Nisa. And I like to say that Hanukkah is one of the most effective advertising campaigns ever created. Okay. Number 7, it's a mitzvah to light the menorah in a doorway that opens the street. Now we're back to the Shulchan Aruch. So you want to have it, if you don't actually have it on the front of your house in this, a street, in front of the street, you have it on a doorway that opens to the public domain in order to publicize the miracle, as was done in the days of the Mishnah and the Talmud. Now, since we live among the non-Jewish nations, we light the menorah in the house, and if you have a window facing the street, you should light it there. If not, you should light it near the door. So, we live, thank God, in a society which is more or less okay with us lighting menorahs in our windows. Nobody should be afraid to do that, okay? But there are times, and there have been times, and there are certainly countries today where it would not be safe to put your menorah in the window, and you should light indoors. When you light indoors, you're going to light it near your front door. Okay? We can go into more details about that if you have any specific questions, if you end up having to do that. It's a little bit complicated, but the idea is why by the door? Is because that's where people will be able to congregate. It's near the entryway. It's because it's like near the street, and then you can put the menorah opposite the mezuzah, so you're surrounded by the mitzvahs. And a lot of people do that, even today. I know Rabbi Shochet Chassidim lights it by the door. Our custom is to light in the window. The mitzvah, number 8, the mitzvah requires the menorah be placed higher than 3 tefachim and lower than 10 tefachim. This seems like a very insignificant thing, but it's actually quite significant. We're going to go a little Kabbalah here. There is an idea that the Shekhinah does not go below 10 tefachim. Shekhinah is the indwelling presence of God. It's not like a blimp or something. It's an aspect of godliness which rests on earth, but not like all the way to the ground. Okay? So wouldn't you think that the menorah should be above 10 to like connect? No. The idea is that the Shekhinah comes down even more on Chanukah to meet us. Even the Jew who is most distant from their Yiddishkeit on Chanukah is connected to the Shekhinah. They can do nothing else but light the menorah. They've connected to the Shekhinah. It's an interesting idea. We could, and why above 3? Because if you put it on the ground, it's not mechubed. It's not respectful. Thank you. Now, what happens if it's not convenient, for whatever reason, you want to place it higher up? You should not place it higher than 20 amos. You've not fulfilled your obligation. If it's higher than 20 amos, it's out of vision, of your range of vision. In other words, people don't look up that high. Now, you might say, but what about a billboard? Well, yeah, if you have a billboard with and a menorah built into it, it's okay, right? But it's, in other words, like a home-based menorah that's that tall, nobody's going to see it. Now, let's say you live on a 2nd floor. What do? Put it in the window, 3rd floor, 4th floor. It's okay. That's okay. Now, but you might be like, 5 stories up, 10 stories up. So the contemporary halacha is, if there's somebody who could see it from an opposing building, it's okay. So in theory, in Manhattan, you're 50 stories up, you can put the menorah in your window, right? As long as your apartment doesn't face the water. Then you'd put it by your doorway.
Why is that?
Again, pardon?
Why not face the?
Oh yeah, there has to be somebody who could see it, right? So no matter how high your apartment is, if somebody could see it in the window, you can put it up there. Okay. Now, how do you arrange your menorah? How do you arrange it? They have to be, ideally, in an even row. And this is a thing that I see all the time that happens, is some of these exciting artistic menorahs that they sell, they're not in an even row. And it can create a little bit of a problem. Am I saying that they're treif? I don't want to say they're treif. I'm sure we could find a reason why it's okay. But if you're buying a menorah, you want to make sure that your menorah is in a row. Or if you're making your own menorah, right? You're traveling, you're on the road, you didn't bring your menorah from home, grab a few tea lights, put them in a row, make one higher than the rest, you've got a menorah. Just put them all in a row. Okay. Space should be between the lights. You don't want the lights so close together. Why not? You can't tell what day it is. If the lights are too close, it's hard to know. You have to be like, with a magnifying glass. Okay. When do we light the candles? This is also a very important matter. And I would tell you that we could have a whole class just about this subject. First of all, there's different nightfalls. There's Shkia, there's when the sun sets. That's the beginning of nightfall. And then there's when stars come out, which is another set of nightfall. And there's different opinions about what that time that is. So we don't have to be experts at this. Thank God we've got our phones and we can apps and we can find out what time sunset is. You need to know what time sunset is for Friday night to make sure you light it before that. And you need to know what time nightfall is to make sure to light after that. So let's look inside here. The Shulchan Aruch, number 10. The time to light is immediately after the stars appear. Those who follow the decision of the Vilna Gaon customarily light the candles at sunset. Some people even do it at sunset, but most do not. And you should not delay. It's forbidden to do anything before lighting the menorah, even to study Torah. You're not supposed to even work a half an hour before because maybe you're going to forget to light. Except if you have not prayed Mariv. You should pray and then light the menorah. Now, if you're going to pray Mariv before lighting, you should have the menorah completely prepared with oil and wicks in order to be able to light immediately after the menorah, right? What happens? If you're going to light, you go to shul for Mincha Mariv, which a lot of holy people do. You come home, and then you start putting the candles and lights together. That's okay if you daven at one of those minyanim where Mariv is right after Mincha. You have plenty of time. But if you daven Mariv like a half an hour after Mincha, which other shuls do, then Taka, you run into a little problem. You're supposed to be, you finish Mariv, you come home, you're supposed to light right away. But let's say there's people not home. You got some kids who are out at some school function or whatever. There are reasons you can delay it for other members of your family if you want. Or you just light it yourself, and when they get home, they light the menorah at that time. But it's very important to gather your family together, says Shulchan Aruch, because when you have a lot of people together, it's more publicity for the miracle. Even though you might say, wait a minute, Rabbi, it's not our first Chanukah, what's the publicity? See, that's publicity as we think about it in our limited minds, right? Publicity like, I already heard that. No. Each and every time we light the menorah, we're publicizing Nes Chanukah. It's so important to internalize the miracles of Chanukah. So even though we've done this a million times, each time, and the more we do it, and the more we expose other people to it, or it's not the right word, to display or share it with other people, the better. Now, it's very important when you light an oil menorah, and if you've never lit that one before, you want to make sure that it will last for half an hour at minimum. That is the amount. It's called a shear, an amount. Less than half an hour is not okay. What about if you light wax candles? Same thing. So, not to worry people, we still have a few more days to Hanukkah. But sometimes the cheap Chinese candles, which are sold in the stores, which are a really good bargain,
99 cents.
99 cents, adults should not light them. They're great for kids, they're fine, but they often do not last 30 minutes. You're lucky if they last 15 minutes sometimes, right? So you have to be a little careful there to make sure to buy longer wax candles. And especially when you light Friday, because we want our Hanukkah candles to stay lit until half an hour after nightfall. But when do we light them? Before our Shabbos candles, which is 18 minutes before sunset. 18 minutes, minimum of half an hour after sunset, you want them to go. Minimum, most people say you want at least to go 40 minutes. So you're talking they have to burn for at least more than an hour. Absolute minimum. And again, footnote this, we can get more into the details later. Now,
Someone said freeze your candles, they'll burn longer.
I heard the freeze the candles. Everything should be put to the test. I wouldn't depend on, like tonight. You can just give it a shot. Okay.
only have 43 candles.
No, yeah, don't use the, it's right. Lee says, but we'll only have 43 candles. You don't use the one you need for the other, Okay. Turn the page to page 3. We have a bunch more to get through. Baruch Hashem. This is our custom. When the Shulchan Aruch says this is our custom, that means European Jews. Okay? There is, at the end of this handout, I put a link to all of the halachas of the Sephardi Jews. We don't want to leave you out. They're very similar, but they're not all the same. And if you want to review it, there's a link at the back there to a whole article on Sephardic customs of Hanukkah.
What if you're Sephardi?
Better pick soon.
Okay. We light the menorah this way. The first night you kindle the facing. Let's look inside together. On the first night, you kindle the light facing your right hand. On the second night, you add one light to the left of the previous night's candle. Similarly, on each subsequent night, you add one light to the left. The light that is added is always kindled first, and you continue lighting towards the right. Okay? The new candle gets lit first, and then you go. Now, what brachas do you say? There are 3 blessings. The first night you recite 3 blessings. Lehadlik ner shel. Lehadlik ner shel. Good. Did you notice I said shel? Some people say ner Chanukah. Is one right and one wrong? No, they're both fine. Both fine. Shulchan Aruch is cool with both of them. Okay? So you can some say Lahadlik Ner Chanukah and some Lahadlik Ner Shel Chanukah. Both are okay. The next one, She'asa nisim lavoseinu bayamim ahem. Bazman, Bisman. What do we do? Bazman, Bisman? Both are okay. Both are okay. Bisman hazeh. Very important. And then the first time we light the Hanukkah candles, which usually is the first night, but let's say, I don't know, God forbid, you couldn't light the first night, and you're lighting the second night for the first time, then the second night you'd say Shechianu. Just like by Lulav. The first time you shake Lulav on Sukkot, you say Shechianu, even if it's not the first day. Now, what's the difference between the 3 blessings? The first one, Lahadlik, is on the lighting of the menorah. What is the second one on? What's the second one on? We lit the menorah. Shas anisim, what's it on? It's on Re'iyah, seeing. It's on seeing the Hanukkah lights. Just seeing them is a mitzvah. In fact, a person who isn't able to light their own menorah, for whatever reason, they're working the late shift at the emergency department, they're a resident, and they're working all night, and they can't light at Cedar Sinai without making a big fuss. So what do? They can't light. If they even see somebody else's Hanukkah menorah, they can say the bracha to themselves, Shas anisim lavos einavos. You can say the bracha and see somebody else's candles. How cool is that? Very cool. So in other words, right? So there, and then the third one, Shechianu, is on the Zman that we meet, that we got to this place. We only say it the first night though, and it's not like the Shechianus on the Yontifs where we sometimes do them twice, right? Because of Sveika Diyoma, there's no Sveika Diyoma, there's no doubt of days on Hanukkah. There's no we don't have 9 days of Hanukkah, right? Okay. Now, let's look inside here a little bit. After you say the brachas, you kindle one light, and while kindling the others, you say Anerus Halalu. So it's very important. Again, some people who have a different custom, you might have what to depend on, and we discussed this, actually we were learning together this week. Sometimes people start lighting the candles after the first blessing, while they're lighting the second one. Again, I'm sure there's a reason that that's okay, but I would stress, if you can avoid it, to not do it that way. Why? Because the second blessing is on seeing them. And if you haven't lit them all yet, you haven't really seen them. So you really should wait. What you should say, or you can say, is Haneros Halalu. But there's like 4 people lighting, Rabbi. There's me, and then there's my 4 kids, and then there's my neighbor. What do? You wait till everybody lights, and then you sing together Haneros Halalu. Now you say, what about a convert, Rabbi? How can they say that my ancestors? Don't worry. The Mishnah Berurah says a convert can say them, the brachos, perform the miracles like any other Jew. Okay. A person who's an onen, should lo aleinu, a person whose relative, mother, father passed away, and they haven't buried them yet. They should not light their menorah. Somebody else should light it for them and say the brachos for them, and they should answer amen. But if there's nobody else around, they could light it without the brachos. What creates the mitzvah? Number 13. The hadlaka makes it's a very, very important halacha. Hadlaka makes the mitzvah. What does that mean? Let's say I lit the menorah with less than 30 minutes worth of fuel. What have I just done? A bracha levatala, a blessing in vain, because we know that the Chanukah candle or oil has to stay lit for 30 minimum minute, and I just lit it on less than that. So I made a bracha levatala. Or let's say I lit it in a place where it was windy, where they're going to blow out right away. Also, so not only did I make a blessing in vain, I didn't fulfill my mitzvah. And I have to light again. Okay, look inside. It's a halachic rule that the act of lighting the menorah creates the mitzvah, which means that the kindling of the essence of the mitzvah. When you light the menorah, the lights must be in a proper place and must proper amount of fuel, or right, if you lit them in the wrong spot, etc. So it's very important that we be mindful, we set it up in the right spot, with the right amount of fuel, the right everything, so that when we light, it does the trick. And that's all about, kavanah, right? And preparation. Okay. Turn the page. Now, during the time they are burning, we are fulfilling the mitzvah of Chanukah, which is, we determined, is a minimum of 1/2 hour. Okay? Others say it's the whole time they stay lit, which could be a problem. Let's say you put 2 hours worth of fuel in there. You're not supposed to benefit from the light at all. You create a little bit, I shouldn't say, not saying not to do it, but just remember that when the Chanukah candles are lit, or the menorah, the oil, we shouldn't go about our regular scheduled program. It's very important. It's not like you just light and then go back to whatever you were doing before. You really have to, and it's tough. We live in an ADHD world, right? Everybody's bing, bong, biz, buzz, everything, right? It's very hard. But we have to be present. It's very important to be present for the menorah. At least a half an hour, okay? We're not supposed to benefit from the light. That's where that shamish comes in. The shamish, a lot of us think about the shamish as we use it to light the other candles, which we can. But its real raison d'etre is to make sure there's additional light so that if a person is reading in that room and this is the only source of light, they're not transgressing the prohibition of benefiting from the light of the Chanukah menorah. I know, right? That's why we're taking this class. Great. I love it. The shamish gives light, and it makes sure that no matter what, we're not benefiting. Now, might be benefiting a little bit. It's okay. As long as we're not, we've got that shamish, we're safe. Now, by the way, it always happens, not in LA, but if you ever lived in like a place with weather, like, anybody here not grew up in LA, right? We used to get power outages in the winter all the time, right? So this is actually a real thing. You're lighting your menorah, it's a power outage. The only thing you have lit is your menorah. So it's here. Everyone's like, what? Power outage? Maybe in the summer, brownout or something. Okay. Whew. Now, you should have the shamash a little higher. Why? Just to make sure that it's more recognizable. If it's not a little bit higher, you're okay. Don't throw it away. Are women obliged? Now, let's even understand what's the question. In other words, there are certain mitzvahs that women, because they're quote unquote a time-bound commandment, and women who are primary caregivers, so let's say small children, they might not be able to do things. So there's certain mitzvahs that the rabbi said, you know what? Because this mitzvah requires to be done at a certain time, a woman might be exempt from that mitzvah. They're not exempt from Hanukkah candles. Women have the exact same obligation as a man with Hanukkah candles. There's no distinction. Now, there is some small variation, however. First of all, women were involved in the mitzvah, right? A woman may light the menorah on behalf of her entire family, right? So, if the husband's not home for any reason, and ishto kagufo, normally, and I love how this works, right? As Rachel says, I light the Shabbos candles for you, Yonah, and you light the Hanukkah candles for me, right? Because, right, the Shabbos candles, everybody's also obliged on Shabbos candles. Why don't I light them? Because Rachel's lighting for me, right? But if I was, and I will be, in a few weeks, I'll be out of town, far east from here. Shabbos is going to come in a lot earlier in Poland. So I have to light my own Shabbos candles because Rachel won't be able to light for me. So, but on Hanukkah, similar thing. A woman can light for the whole family. She could light for her husband, anybody. A child who's gotten the age of mitzvah should be trained. A blind person, okay, we don't have to worry about that. Now, one more thing about a woman lighting is that they have the exact same mitzvah. There's no difference. So it's very important if you have daughters that everybody in your home, every person, let's you have guests over, everybody should light. Men, women, children, everybody should light. Have lots of extra candles, lots of extra oil, whatever is needed. Everybody should light. The only exception is if somebody's lighting for you. Like if your wife is lighting for you, or your husband's lighting for you, then someone's lighting on your behalf. Okay, we'll take a brief pause and answer any question on this first section. Yes?
Okay, so if a friend comes over and he don't like the Hanukkah,
Yes.
is there a reason why you always say menorah instead of Hanukkah?
Okay. This is called a menorah, a Hanukkah menorah. The word Chanukiah is a modern Hebrew word, which is gesund, it's great. Israelis love words that can to shorten things. So rather than say Hanukkah menorah, you just have one word, Chanukiah.
Okay, so that's the way we always call it. So
Yeah. So this is if you look in the Shulchan Aruch or the Talmud, you will not find the word Chanukiah. You'll find Hanukkah menorah.
Okay, but my question was,
Yeah.
if a friend comes over and we multiply,
Yes.
that person is Yosef, even if it's not in their own home?
No. So that's a great question. What do you do if you're visiting somebody else? We can't get into all the permutations of this, but you're supposed to light in your home. So if you're going to somebody's house for a Hanukkah party, you can light there, and you can light at home too. And it's gonna be the same town. And pardon? With a bracha. I can't get into all the reasons why. It's because it's a little bit beyond this, but it's important to know that you're supposed to light at home. How late can you light? We didn't really go into that. Technically, you're supposed to try to light, we said, right when it's nightfall. However, if you get home later, you can light later. It says in the Gemara, you can only light the candles ad shetekala regel min hashuk, which means until the foot traffic has ended in the marketplace. That was during a time where people didn't go around at night. It was dangerous. We have cars now. People drive all the time. We've got flashlights, street lighting, and so forth. You can light it at other times. You can even light all the way till, it starts to get light out. Okay, we take one more question.
Real question, time zones. I'm traveling
Yeah.
west, east, and I can envision that there would be the possibility that
Yeah, you're only obliged to light once you get to where you're going to stay for the night, even if that means it's like 3 in the morning. If you're traveling west,
I've got a 15-hour time difference. I
Yeah.
could light and I could be home in time to light.
yeah. Oh, it's okay. We can't get to all the permutations. All right, one more question. Yes.
I have 5 questions.
Okay, we have time for one. We can get more later.
So my mom and dad are divorced. So can I light it once with my mom and then with my dad?
Wherever you're sleeping that night, but if you're at a party, let's say you're at your dad's, but you're going to sleep at your mom's, you can light with your dad and you can go home and light with your mom. Okay.
Dad, you wanted to do it early. Can you do it early?
You absolutely could do it early if you had to do it early, but as long as you're going to be lighted again later. Okay, right. Because the early one is only for the publicizing the miracle, not to be Yotze, the mitzvah of menorah. That's a heavy one. Okay, we're going to have to go on though, because I got 25 more pages to get through.
Brachas both times, Rabbi?
Okay, brachas both times. The Shulchan Aruch explains, and we're going to get to it right now. One lights the Chanukah lamp from sunset onward. Okay? The whole point is we want to publicize the miracle. It's all about publicizing the miracle. Look at source 2 at the bottom, page 4. If you arrive home before the first light of dawn, you can wake people up. Okay, the Mishnah Berurah was a little bit more machmir. The Mishnah Berurah didn't like it if you lit at home just for yourself. He was a little bit more machmir. He said, wake people up at home when you get home. So you get home, wake them up. Kids, we're lighting the menorah. Okay. Publicizing the miracle. Turn your page. Publicizing the miracle is not specifically to show others. It's also for each person in their family to impress upon oneself the clarity of Jewish faith. Right? Hanukkah, ironically, Hanukkah is celebrated by almost everybody, secular and not secular. Why say ironically? Because the whole idea of Hanukkah is all about faith, which we learned last week, right? It's all about faith. It's all about emunah. There's no way that the Maccabim should have won. There's no way that the oil should have lasted. Everything is faith. But it's okay. Let everyone should light and be happy. Here are the blessings. We already went through those. Okay, traditions of Hanukkah. Hoda'ah and Hallel. The Talmud tells us that these are days of thanks and praises to the one above. Say it with me. Thanks and praises. There we go. Okay?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Wow, we can say those things. We say Hoda'ah is thanks and Hallel is praise. We say Hallel every single day of Hanukkah. Full Hallel, not this half stuff. Okay? Hanukkah was established entirely for the sake of gratitude, says Rashi. Entirely for the sake of gratitude. Who are we grateful to, of course? Hashem, right? Hanukkah is all about gratitude. Ala Nisim. We add an extra prayer to all of our benching and our amidas, the Ala Nisim. We thank you for the miracles, for the redemption, for the mighty deeds. What are the miracles? Let's just remind ourselves.
The war.
The war and the
Lighting.
oil. Good. The oil and the war. Good. Now, what happens, just as a little side note, for those of you who are very scrupulous and you're saying the blessing after the meal, the benching, or your Amida, right, your silent prayer, let's say you're very, very scrupulous. And you remember at the end that what? Oh my God, I forgot Ala Nisim. And I remember I was at a class once, and they told me if I forgot Yalev Yavo, that part for the holidays, I have to go back. So maybe I have to go back and repeat the whole thing again, like by Ya'aleh v'Yavo, and that's wrong. You don't. Okay? Because it is not a mitzvah doraita. It is not a Torah holiday. It is a rabbinic holiday. So we get a few passes. Okay? If you mess up your amidas, not really mess it up, but you forgot to insert it, you don't go back. But you can say, we didn't put it here, but there are different harachamans you can add actually at the end. It's pretty cool. Look in your siddur or on your favorite website. Next, hanerot halalu. Now, I share in a little personal frustration, which is that people have forgotten to sing hanerot halalu. And it's not like the worst thing in the world, but the prayer serves a very, very important point. In other words, if we just light the candles and then we start doing something else, we're not really being present and recognizing what we've just accomplished. It's so important to say, hanerot halalu, these candles that we light are for the saving acts, miracles, and wonders which God performed for our ancestors in those days, right? It's so important to say this and say it in English. If you want to sing it in Hebrew, okay, very important. Now, this is this is a fascinating thing I want to bring in. The miracle transpired as a result of a change of attitude. The Bach, who is buried in the cemetery in Krakow, and I'll be, please God, praying at his grave in about 10 days. The Bach wrote that when the Jews repented and began to wholeheartedly dedicate their lives to God, he saved them through the Kohanim. Right? We like to think that the miracle of the Maccabees was that they somehow outsmarted, and there's reason for that, because Judith, she outsmarted that general. So one might think that it was all about outsmarting the Greeks. Teaches the Bach and others, we didn't outsmart them. We outfaithed them. We had faith. We had faith. We did tshuva. The Jewish people said, enough of this Greek culture. Enough of this Greek culture. We want to be good Jews. That change of attitude gave them the strength to overcome the multifold numbers of opponents. Chanukah is over. There's still some, it goes so fast. It goes too fast, right? There's a little oil left. What do you do with the oil? Put it on your salad? No. We talked about this last week. Anything which is used for a mitzvah becomes holy. You can't just use it for regular things. There is a custom, some use it as a refuah. You could put it like on something that needs healing. Otherwise, you burn it up. Okay, you just burn it all up.
You mean that's left in your Chanukah?
Yeah.
Not that's left in the bottle.
What's in the Chanukah, yeah, great. If it's in the bottle, even though you bought it for Chanukah, since it hasn't been used yet, you can use it for salad dressing.
Every day we say Hallel, we bring Torah too, right?
Yeah, we read the Torah every day. Exactly. We read the Torah. We say Hallel. We do not say Musaf. There's no Musaf, right? There's no extra because there was no Korban Musaf. Okay. Food customs. Look at the bottom of page 6. Hello, brother. It's proper to eat foods fried in oil on Chanukah in remembrance of the miracle of the flask of oil. Now, I have a big question. Why does the food have to be fried in oil to remember the Chanukah miracle? What, excuse me, I'm reading, what? Yeah, I'm not making this up. And Rabbi Kitov knew a few things, right? It's right here. I brought him to show and tell.
It tastes
But if you have high cholesterol.
Why do we have to fry it? Why can't we just have like really oily salad? right? I love those, like a really oily tabbouleh, right? Why not? It's good, right? Rachel makes this great eggplant in oil. It's delicious. I'm still looking for final solutions on this, but I've basically come to this conclusion. We have a law that raw food, pardon me, California, is not as important as cooked food. Raw food is not as important as cooked food. Cooked food is considered a higher level. How do we know? Because if you have a visiting dignitary to the synagogue, you're not going to just serve them a bunch of salad. You're going to give them something cooked. Cooked fish, cooked meat, something cooked. Maybe something from Lenny's.
Okay, like Aruch.
Shameless plug.
Like Aruch the Malachi.
That's right. He cooked tongue. He didn't bring them, oh, I just made this fresh tabbouleh. He didn't do that. So we know that cooked food is more important. And we know we're supposed to use oil. So what do? We fry it. We cook it in oil. That's my own chiddush. I hope that's right.
It's also supposed to warm you up.
Oh yeah, warm you up. But I get warmed up with the Glenlivet too. So, and I don't want to cook in Glenlivet. Okay, let's keep going. We're gonna get through all this. Some say it's proper to eat cheese on Chanukah because Yehudi fed the enemy cheese products, which made him thirsty, and she gave him wine, and he fell asleep, and she chopped off his head. Okay. Now this is a Tamim and Hagim. There's a profound difference between spinning the dreidel on Chanukah and the Gragra on Purim. We all know about the game, the dreidel. By the way, Jews did not invent this. Okay, it's okay, it's fine. There are other spinning top games in the world. That's okay. Ours is awesome. Okay, the reason we play dreidel on Chanukah and a Gragra on Purim is because on Chanukah there was only a heavenly awakening. As a Jewish people, we did not, while we said tshuva before, that was only the Maccabim. That was not the whole group of Jews. Only 3,000 Jewish fighters. There were a lot more Jews. So Chanukah was from above. God saved them from his mercy. And this is why we hold the dreidel on top. On Purim, the Jews awaken themselves by fasting and by mourning. And therefore we hold the Grager from the bottom. Isn't that gewalt? That's right. Awesome. Okay. Here are some more things. In Likutei Halachos Orach Chaim, this is Rabbi Nachman's teachings. So here Reb Nassim will connect Chanukah Derapanim and the mitzvah tzedakah charity. Okay? So the custom commonly known by its Yiddish name Chanukah Gelt is brought in the Shulchan Aruch Magen Avram, which we'll learn later. Now we're going to learn the Kabbalah of this. This is an expression of the illumination of the supernal panim, that Hashem shines his panim towards us, that Hashem's countenance. Hashem shines his countenance towards us. For the only way to receive the light of the panim of the living king is by giving tzedakah. As it is written, with tzedek I shall behold your panim. Reb Nosson here is equating tzedek and tzedakah. So it's very important to give tzedakah on Chanukah. It's one of the ways that we receive the light of Chanukah, that we receive the or of Chanukah is by opening that channel through tzedakah. We want to support Torah learning. It's one of the big things, and those who are poor, and other worthy causes. Suf Ganiyot, right? This was invented by Dunkin' Donuts, right? Dunkin' Donuts, did they invent Suf Ganiyot? No. Okay, so this is Gewalt. I'm very excited about this because I just found this year. There is something called the Kovetz Sarid Upalit in the name of Maimon, the father of the Rambam, which is from a handwritten note. And he says it was a custom in Yerushalayim to make these fried dough pastries and give them to the poor people, Talmidei Chachamim, or people who lost a relative, in order to appease them. It was a custom in Morocco to send platters of these. How are they called in Morocco? Sphinge. Very good. 2 points. To poor people, widows, and newly married couples. Okay. So we're going to read this. This is from the father of the Rambam. Rabbeinu Maimon wrote in Arabic, one should not be lenient with any minhag, even seemingly a minor minhag like donuts, like sufganiot. And one is properly obliged to have a festive meal with food to publicize the miracle which Hashem, blessed be He, performed for us on these days. And a minhag developed to make a sufganin, which are honey cakes called iskritin by Targum, is an ancient minhag, which is done because the cakes are fried in oil to commemorate His blessings. And Rabbeinu Nisim wrote in Megillah Sa'arim that all the minhagim of the Jewish nation are like this. Head on Rosh Hashanah, etc. We may not denigrate these minhagim. And it's already been said by the Navi, do not forsake the Torah of your mother, right? Al titosh Torah simecha, we say every morning in davening. Meaning, do not abandon the religious practices of your mother. And amongst the Gaonim and Rosh Yeshivos, there are customs such as these that are recorded in their holy books. One should not denigrate or eliminate any of these out. Okay, that's pretty awesome. Awesome. So, in other words, it doesn't really matter what kind of fried dough you make, but fried dough has an ancient custom. Rachel's been making lately beignet. Beignet. Delicious. Just as long as you're frying dough, we're good, okay?
What is beignet?
Beignet is like it's from New Orleans. So it's a fried dough from New Orleans.
The Cafe du Monde is kosher.
And the Cafe du Monde is kosher dairy.
Beignets.
Kosher dairy.
French Quarter.
Okay. Okay. So it was originally Chanukah gelt. On Shabbos, we went around the table. We said, what's your favorite Chanukah custom? And everyone went around the table, and I was last. And Rachel knew exactly what I was going to say. My favorite custom is Chanukah gelt. Chanukah gelt was originally money, not little foil chocolate coins. Sorry for those in the chocolate industry. According to the Belzer Rebbe, the reason why we would give out coins to children on Chanukah and to all the children, was because then you didn't have to distinguish who was poor and who was not poor. Every kid would get them. Some say that it's connected to the custom of remembering that the Hashmonaim made coins. After they were victorious, they started minting their own coins in 142 BCE. Of course, the Jews must have made that up to justify their colonialism, but... Okay. In the 1700s in Europe, children would be given coins not for themselves. They were supposed to go give these coins to their teachers. Remember, what do we say is the first place to give your tzedakah on Chanukah? Torah education. So the teachers made no money. So the parents would give the kids a few coins to take to school or cheder to give to their teachers as a little Chanukah help. And then the kids maybe eventually like, wait a minute, what about us? We can't have a few coins too? Okay. The Magen Avram writes, Nohagim hanarim ha'anim l'savev b'chanukah al psachim. Okay, but he said that the poor children would go around to the houses and collect tzedakah on Chanukah. And then this one is from the Abbas Yisrael of Koznitz, the Abbas Yisrael. I don't have a good. I couldn't just lower this holy book by putting it in English, so I just left it in Hebrew. This is what it says. Nohagim hana'arim lisavev bechanukah. The young people would go out on Chanukah. Umin hagam shal Yisrael Torahu. Any minhag of the Jewish people is Torah. V'remez ki tzarich lahashpia. This is a clue, a hint that we have to lashpia bechanukah lemishu hu b'madregos nar. Nar means youth. But some people's, their Jewish connection is only on the level of nar. They never had an advanced connection. They only had a connection as a kid. They never had a connection as an adult, never. So we have to connect to everybody in the level of nar. We have to connect to every Jew on their that lowest level. And you know those things that we experienced as children, those are the things that stick with us the longest. And through the tzedakah that we give to the narim, to the children, and to the youth, misorer lamala, it arouses above tzedakah v'chesed, loving kindness and charity, lahashpia la'adam hagam shu bebechinas nar, to every person who really deep down still has that little kid inside of them. You see why I didn't want to translate it into Hebrew. It's just so beautiful his words. This is a very difficult Hasidic sefer. At least I understood this line. So, how much tzedakah? As much as you can afford. It's not like Meiser or other things. I encourage everyone to get lots of coins and dollars to give out to people, especially children. We can accomplish so much on Chanukah. We can accomplish it in so many ways. To remind ourselves, we have to have a nice menorah. We have to know how and when and where to light it. We have to make sure that we say the right blessings at the right time. We want to also make sure to keep all the customs, even the ones that our doctors say are not so good for us. Once a year, having fried food is not going to kill you. And that's from a guy who had a heart attack, okay? So everybody should have a beautiful, wonderful, delicious Hanukkah. We have time for a couple questions.
I have the question from last week.
Okay, we're going to start here. We'll go around. Yes, Yossi.
All right, I wanted to hear, you said you had a whole thing about why the menorah and its connection with Hanukkah.
Yes.
So I want to know the base of English. What does the menorah represent, and how is it relevant to the holiday?
The menorah represents Hashem's light in the world. The Beis Hamikdash didn't need the light. It was never for the purposes of light, just like the same that we're not supposed to use the light of the menorah for any practical purposes. It's all the representational light of God's light, which is connected to the Oraganuz, which was the light which was used to create the world, which was hidden away for tzaddikim and in other things. That light was hidden. Al pi Kabbalah, it was hidden and stashed away because it's so overwhelming we cannot truly access it. But it's a remez. It's a dumya. It connects us to the Oraganuz. Okay, one sec. We're going to go to the next question.
No, I just want to up on that one. So you know that all Hanukkah candles add up to 36. So 36 is the amount of hours before Hashem did that light.
Beautiful. Shkoyach. Thank you. Yes, Anna.
Okay, maybe this was last class, I don't know, but you said the miracle came from the
Women, yes. So the Yehudit, she was a daughter of the high priest, and she did this scheme, right, where she fed the general cheese and then wine, and he fell asleep, and she killed him. And again, according to the Midrash, is the soldiers were like, wait a minute, they have a woman who can chop the head off of one of our generals? We're out of here! Right? Yeah. Okay. Shh. Okay, Leanne.
If you have the option of being at a public event where they're doing the menorah lighting or lighting at home,
Do both. Go to the public event and then do the one at home. Because Berov Am Hadras Melech, there's many reasons why. I can't get a reason, but you should do the public one and then go home and do the private one. But if you will not be able to do the private one, for whatever reason, then you have to do that one first. But if you can do both, do both. We're just going to work our way around. Yes?
Just two quick questions. You said that women have to light candles. Can I be Yotzi, my husband?
Yes, you are Yotzi, your husband.
Okay, and then secondly, we're gonna be in the East Coast and at somebody else's house. We're not gonna be at home, so we light at the time, at candlelight time in the East Coast.
If you're in the East Coast, you're going to light according to everybody in the East Coast, same time that they light. Wherever you're sleeping, that creates your home for the halachic purposes.
Okay, but we're gonna be sleeping not in my daughter's house. We're gonna be
That's okay.
And I wanna light with the grandkids.
You're going to light with the grandkids,
Yes.
and then if you're able to, you should also light when you get back to wherever you're staying.
We're gonna get there late, 9 o'clock at night on Wednesday. Just when I get to the place, just light.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. One time, Rachel and I were coming back from a Hanukkah party that we had just done in southern Poland, and we flew from Katowice back to Warsaw, and we got to our hotel like 1:30 in the morning in Warsaw. This is when we were commuting to Poland. Before, we used to just go back and forth between Israel and Poland till we lived there full time. So I never forget this, that it was like 1:30, 2 in the morning, and we're in the hotel in Poland, and we're like, no one's going to notice if we light the candles, right? There's no one on the streets. Nobody on the streets. But then I remembered that you can publicize it in your family. So we lit the candles there in the hotel and didn't set off the fire alarm. Yes? Question. David.
Okay, so if you do a public lighting, or is it similar to like at someone's house, you do something with someone else? But if you do a public lighting, you do all the blessings, and then at home you do all the blessings, or does it change it?
No, you're going to, when you do the public one, whatever you do that, then you come home, you say all the blessings. Even though you answered amen to those blessings, and even if you were the one saying the blessing, we used to do multiple Hanukkah parties, like in the same night. You say the blessing each time. Okay, next question. Yes. Yes.
You answered your question.
Okay, on Friday night, this Shabbos.
Yes.
Okay, Friday night, we're having a dinner here. We light the candle, we light the Hanukkah before, and we light the Shabbos candles. And then I would normally just light early, drive to shul, with the idea in mind that
Right. It makes it a little challenging, correct?
Yeah, so how am I gonna sit and watch for a half hour? I don't understand.
Yeah. The truth is, is that Friday night is the one night that the candles kind of get shortchanged, unfortunately.
Okay.
And it always happens, and I don't have all the answers to that one, but it's not just if you're going to a communal dinner. It's very often that Friday the candles get shortchanged. So my answer is, do whatever you can to not shortchange your candles.
So Rabbi, we could light here, for instance, but you're not sleeping.
Okay.
We're eating here.
So if you're not going to be able to light at home because you're eating here, so then you would light the candles here. It's not ideal, but you'd have no other choice. Yes, young man.
I am Jewish.
Nice and loud. Nice and loud.
In the past, they didn't have any weather app, so how did they know when they would light the menorah?
They didn't have a weather app back in the old days. They knew more or less when sunset was, and then they would wait a prescribed amount of time depending on where they lived. They would know that nightfall comes here in the winter about 40 minutes after, or here it comes 60 minutes after. You see, nightfall is dependent on your latitude. So nightfall comes faster and slower depending on where you live. So there's not just one. There is a general rule to try to wait 40 minutes, but that's based on an average. That's not a specific number. One more question.
So I grew up always lighting by the window.
Yes.
Then I heard a shiur very
Yes.
recently from my Weinberger,
Yes.
Shlita, who said that the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, because the Ramah had this deen that in a zman of sakana, of danger,
Right.
you light inside, the Talmidei Baal Shem in Chutz La'aretz, outside of Israel,
Would
continue
light.
to light inside, and Chassidim to this day continue to light inside across from the mezuzah, not by the window. And my wife, who grew up in Lubavitch, lights inside, not by the window.
Yep.
And I continue to light by the window until I heard this Ray Weinberger thing. Now I'm confused what to do.
So the question has to do with where to light. We discussed this a little bit before you came in, and the answer is you absolutely can change your custom, right? It's not like switching from eating rice on Pesach to not eating rice, right? You can absolutely switch. So if you decide this year,
But what did the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov do?
Eh,
Chutz La'aretz. What is
so-
your Rebbe do?
my Rebbe did not light by the door, but he lived in an apartment.
He lives
And
inside?
and his doorway led to a little hallway where there was one other door. Okay? He lit by the window
That window.
in his apartment,
Not across from the mezuzah in the doorway.
not across from him. I do know that Rabbi Shochet and many other Hasidim still light by the door.
Inside.
Inside, yes. And so you have what to be Soymech on. And the great thing is you can try it out and even switch on the same Chanukah.
Right.
Right? That's so cool. Okay. Guys, I'll answer your questions, but we want to have to kind of close down the official class. And thank you so much. Let's thank the Happy Minyan again for such a beautiful spread and everything.